Good afternoon, Ashbo. Good afternoon, James. Good afternoon, Latania. Good afternoon, Faye. Good afternoon, Barrister. How are you today?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm okay, sir. I'm fine. And yourself?
Uh, I'm,
Blessed.
I'm fine.
Good afternoon, CEO.
Good afternoon. Are you okay? All right. Good to see you this time. Thank you for your patience. I'll be here today. So, as usual, I'm going to start with special interview questions and
I carry notes. So
areas.
you know, don't tell me I know it's there. I carry notes.
No, carry me.
Okay.
First laugh. Okay. So welcome back.
Okay. I'm going to start with some special questions on data governance framework before we go to best practice and ethics. So, very important, we know this. I keep on repeating this question for the purpose of understanding and also able to articulate it wherever you are. Okay? So, if you are having an interview and you are asked a question with respect to the components of data governance, the components of your, rather I say framework of data governance, and how will you respond to it? So can you just tell me the framework of data governance? Have you heard the word framework before? Yep. Nicholas?
Is it, let me lower my hand, is it processes and strategies that ensures data is managed and protected and utilized in the correct manner?
Yep. We'll try.
That establishing standards and roles and responsibilities and guidelines to guarantee the quality and security and compliance of data across its life cycle.
Do we all believe what he says?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Nicholas, you having a gift from me.
Thank you very much. Same. I feel exactly the same about you. So, so thank you.
Okay, so the gift is for me to smile very well. That's a very good answer. Very good answer. So we have several components anyway. So, but if you don't mind, you could go it and look for job description of
Okay.
Data governance manager. The ones you see there, policy, procedure, processes, standards, rules, and responsibility, and tools as well will show up. You must be acquainted with that. Very important. Okay? In order to ensure quality, data quality. I love that. Nicholas. Okay? How do you establish data governance council? Okay? How do you do that? The council, in terms of accountability and responsibility, how do you do that? Okay?
I'm trying to connect back, including departments. Like I see that.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Oh, Nicholas, your hand is up. Nicholas, your hand is up.
Sorry, sorry, my mic was off. So I'm guessing by establishing a cross-functional team, compromising in IT specialists and stewards, compliance officers, and with business leaders.
That's correct.
Well, the goal is to define the data ownership and the classification of the data.
Nicholas, you're overdue to go for an interview.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is a practical work we're talking about right now. It's a practical work. Okay, what is the role of data governance charter? There's a charter called data governance. Okay. Okay. What is the role of governance charter? Okay. And I know that this is too big for some people. Okay. Right, that charter.
Hello.
Yep.
I suppose the role of a data governance charter, like any other charter, will be that it will be like some kind of document, foundational document that will define the purpose, basically to serve as a framework to ensure there's some sort of accountability, there's some consistency, transparency, and when it comes to setting up the data governance principles or policies. So it will be some sort of documents, just like you have in any government, you have all sorts of charters in any kind of government.
That's correct. That's correct. So the charter actually defines the purpose, scope, roles, responsibility, and also well-articulated guiding principles of the governance program. Okay, please remember that. Thank you so much, Ife. Okay. Now, the very important one, we know the framework. How do we align the framework of your program with business culture? How do you align them? This is a very practical question. If you work, when people see you are saying, I have 4 years, 5 years, 6 years experience, this question is for them. So how do you align the data governance program you have with this framework, with the enterprise culture? How do you do that? You can phone a friend.
I'm gonna try with this one. So you'd obviously meet the team and see how they work and see how you can make that framework work within the guidelines that are already work within the structures that's already in place, and then change other structures that need to be changed within the culture going forward.
Good. Yeah, that's a very good try. Who else again? Yeah. Who else again?
You can design the framework to align with the culture of the company. So what kind of culture operates in the company is what you align the framework to the organizational culture.
Okay.
So in other words, how will I put it now? You will make sure that the language or whatever style of communication reflects or fits into the organization's culture For example, you wouldn't use the same kind of culture for a sporting football company with a football organization with an engineering firm, with an engineering organization who does civil engineering, like who does civil structures such as roads, bridges, transportation kind of thing. It will be definitely be two different cultures. So the football culture will be different. The other one too will be different. And again, it will also be different from a company that deals in sales of consumer goods too.
Thank you so much. That's a very good, the word you're talking about, the word you're trying to say is tailored to.
Okay, yeah. Suited to, yeah.
The same thing, Ashbog said, embed data governance principles into existing workflows, which of course is very good, and decision-making process clearly communicated, should be communicated, or clearly communicate the value of data quality and integrity, involve key stakeholders from across the organization in the design and implementation, and tailor the framework to address specific cultural. Okay, that's the main answer. Okay, so the word tailor must be it must be internalized and made bold. Tailor it. That's what you're trying to talk about, engineering and football. So something has to be tailored to the need and the culture of the people. Okay, so how do you get that done? You need to have access and assess the culture of the business himself. This question is a very technical question that comes. Perhaps it will make the interviewer to know whether you have actually went to the website and know their culture very well. And then also, as the data governance manager who is going to have initiative to do what needed to be done, you need to, align your program well tailored to the needs and the culture of the enterprise. So you can't do that without getting in the key stakeholders involved. So the answer is what Ashibong has given to NFA put together by involving key stakeholders and tailoring policies to fit the organization workflows and values. Okay. No matter how the goal will be in any organization, it is imperative that you understand what the goals are, and where you're gonna. So he actually phoned a friend from Asurok. Okay, thank you. Please take note of this question, very important, and the answer given already. So the next set of questions that will come from as a result, change management. Very important. And you'll be surprised in your interview, you'll be seeing all these questions. So how do you drive organizational buy-in for data governance? And I want everyone to speak here if it is possible. How do we do that? Okay.
Communication. Making sure people are aware of the whatever the data governance framework is intended to achieve, involving key stakeholders, creating room for feedback, carrying out surveys, and when the feedback comes, you assess it and see if that's what is intended to do or not. I think making sure senior management buys into it.
Yeah.
So, of course, in every organization, no one likes change. Once we talk about change, everybody gets their back up against the wall. So, and then, of course, with change, we always think when they say there's going to be a change in the organizational structure or policies or something, the next thing we think about is, are they going to get rid of people? Sorry, this.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
Once we talk about change in any organization, they will think, right, the next thing is we'll get rid of people. That's the next thing.
Mhm.
So making sure that people understand why you're doing what you do, it's very important.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, introducing it gradually.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, any other person? How do you drive organizational buy-in for data governance? Okay, if you have initiative, how would you buy someone? How would you make someone to buy into your initiative?
You could offer you could potentially offer them some kind of deal depending on what the structure of that organization is. It could be 10% off. It could be a free service with a car. It could be other things that make people give in their data.
So
maybe.
let's put it in context.
Okay, yeah, please.
This time is we're talking about your program,
Right,
data governance. You are a data governance manager.
right.
So how would you have put your program together and you want the organization to buy into your program? How would you do that?
I would try to. My selling point would be how it makes their life easier, how it makes their life, especially at job, easier. Whether it be even if it involved remote working, whatever made it easier for the employee, would be my framework of doing it basically. And that would be my job anyway, is to make their jobs easier. I would see it as.
Yeah, but some part of the question has been answered before as well. So I cannot repeat it in a different form. How would you coming out with a program and then some functional department head or will buy into it, or let's just say stakeholders to buy into your program?
Obviously it would both save them time and save money and increase profit. That's that's the formula of what storing data would do. I would say that like my framework would make their jobs easier, but also save them money and also boost profits. Ideally, or in the right scope, maybe not. Phone a
Yeah.
friend. Phone a friend. That's the best I got.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. That's good.
You can also do workshops. You can also have workshops where people get introduced to it and do maybe like PowerPoint slides or something, where people actually get involved in seeing what you're on about.
So
I would use like cake making as an example. If you want people to buy into your cake, what you do is you give them testers. You do like small bits of the cake you want to introduce into the market and then tell people to test it and then they see if it's something they would like to buy into. So the same way you can organize small workshops, especially for the key stakeholders who will be involved, such as the stewards, data owners, senior management. And in those workshops, create scenarios where the data has made life difficult for them before.
Yeah.
And then you can actually show them how it can be easier done.
Okay. Yeah.
With what you intend to do.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Ashbog, if you can speak, I will ask you some few questions. But Barrister, if you can speak where you are, I will also ask some few questions as well. Because whatever you guys put is very captivating, but it's very important that people drive it well in their mind. So Ashbel say involve stakeholder early, communicate the benefits, also educate employees about the importance of data governance quality and data governance practice. Barrister say highlights alignment with strategic objectives. For example, if a company is focused on digital transformation, explain how data governance is critical to ensuring data integrity and security in the digital platforms. Invariably, emphasize competitive advantage and point out how effective data governance can provide a competitive edge. What does that mean? For everyone, talking about value. So what you do is by demonstrating the value of your program, how it also aligns in the business goals and securing executive, sponsorship. When I mean executive acceptance and buy into it, that's what it means. So you cannot do that without what you people have said before, without communicating workshop and all those things. So very important. So talk about the value you created in your program, communicate the same, having this workshop done to stakeholders, especially the chief executive, as we also tie in to the business goal. All right, if your hands up.
Yes, based on what Barrister Emmanuel has put in there, if it's a company where you have a lot of young people, then yes, when you talk about digital transformation, then the people will be willing to buy into it because a lot of young people are quite techy. But when it comes to a company where you have a lot of older folks, where we are not used to computers and things like that, then it's difficult talking about digital transformation because they don't want to change from the old school. They still believe in carrying files around. So you have to really convince the older generation that this is the way forward. And then, of course, a lot of people always, when you say something that is going to involve some sort of automation, they want to know what kind of automation it is. If it's something that you're going from using just a mere Word documents to something more complicated like Power BI, then people get their backs on the wall and say, I think I'm too old to start learning any new program or any new app at this stage. But of course, once you're able to convince them and they buy into it, then everyone starts laughing because they were wondering how miserable their lives were before the introduction of that particular automatic system.
That's correct. That's correct. But if the organization wants it as a matter of priorities, so
of course, then if the organization wants it as a matter of priority, and there are people who are old school, this is where the fear comes in, that they'll get rid of people. Yeah. So this is what some of the challenges that you could face as a data. As a data governance.
So that's the next question I'm asking right now. What are the key challenges in change management for governance?
Yeah. So we could say one of them too is ageism, though that's not a very good word to use. Ageism in an organization could also be a challenge.
Yeah, you mentioned it before when you were answering the former question.
I mean, what the key?
Ashibot, Latoria, can you hear us from Nigeria?
Yes, sure, I am with you.
I know you're with us, so you need to be fully with us by answering questions.
Sure.
Okay.
One of a challenge could also be, I would say a challenge could be if the executives or the people in top management level are not that's supportive of you, then of course it will cascade to the bottom, because you're saying that sell this to the people, sell this to everyone at the bottom. And you who is on the top is saying, why do I need to sell it to them? Sell it to them yourself. Of course, no one, for people to answer you is going to be a bit of a problem. But once you can get that top management buy-in, then it gets cascaded to everyone within the organization, gets cascaded to team leaders, and then team leaders or managers or whoever, they start cascading this to the people down there. And then before you know it, everyone is on board. And then, of course, that involves making sure it is properly communicated, because sometimes emails can be quite ambiguous. So if an email is ambiguous, people, I must admit, I have done that in the past, to where there's some emails coming out about change. The next thing I just hit the delete button, because I can't be bothered to read the 50 million sentences they have included in that email. So making your paragraph short and concise to the point is quite good.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, any other person? Great effort. You were able to tell us, if you were able to tell us, you were able to tell us the challenges and also the ways to mitigate against those challenges as well. Okay. Ashbog is a resistant to change, lack of understanding of benefits, poor communication, and insufficient training. That's correct. Those are the things that we really need to get that done. So resistant to change.
Yeah. Sorry, talking about training. It's one thing to put out training programs there, and it's one thing for people who you send to for training to actually adopt that training. Or because you could send me for training, I will go there, even if it's a 2-day training, probably going there for the tea, biscuits, and whatever they have to offer. Probably they have night lunch. So I will go there and not get a thing from that training they're doing. So it's very important that when you're sending people for training, to actually find out if they are actually interested in the training, because I've seen that happen in a lot of organizations where people get sent for training and they do not even take in one thing in that training. I mean, it's like us now, we are this data governance training. You can't really say if we are all engaged in this training. It's possible that I could be washing plates or cooking foods in the background. So it's an online training. It's possible I'm doing something else. So I'm not even taking in one word of what is going on this platform. That's the same that happens in organizations. You have to say, when you send people for training, are you getting any feedback from them as to how the training impacted them? Or are you hearing from them that it was just another training? I'd rather not go for it. So when it comes to training, making sure you're investing in the right people is very key. And this is why a lot of organizations rather go for new kids off the block who have just finished from the university, or people who have just finished from high school or something, who are eager to learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just prattling on.
No, that's the key, because you have to prioritize as an entrepreneur. For example, you hire tough, manage easy. When people are resisting changes, and simply because of their mindset, not even putting into cognizance what the expectation is, or what is expected of them to deliver with your program, then they are not aligning their own mindset with the corporate goals. Okay, so normally the answer is resistant to change, lack of understanding, and also competing priorities. So they lack competing priorities, because every companies actually have priorities, and they have they want to have a competitive advantage over their competitive environment. Okay, so interestingly, Barrister said, I did a presentation to a project to the Nigeria government. I told that the truth is that all they are interested in is the money, especially if it involves traveling, and they are traveling abroad. They are not interested
Exactly.
in creating
Exactly.
change, creating. So Ashbrook said he did his dissertation on change management. Okay, and he also gave the right answer ahead, which is good. Thank you, Ashibok. So we are very proud of you for United States of Africa. So how do you manage resistance to new? You see, the first three questions, those are those kind of questions coming in, especially this question comes in your second interview. Okay, in your second interview, you can skip first interview. Some of you here, the way I'm saying you might not even go for second interview because they have access. They say, you know what, when can you start? That's how it normally is at some people here anyway. Okay. Very important. Yeah, because you are well groomed, really well groomed. If you follow the training we give him, there's no way you can ever have work from anywhere in the world. So that's how it is. So how do you resist? How do you manage resistance to new data governance process? So, and what that means invariably, how do you mitigate against those obstacles and change and resistance? That's what it means. So this question is always coming, always coming. In fact, because there you have this problem all the time. You can let them know your problem, especially buying into the program you have is one of the biggest problems. Try to identify data owner, stewards, and who have accountability and responsibility in terms of the organogram. How will they buy into it? And how can you mitigate against it? Then against those who try to resist the changes you are kind of putting forward to be appropriated. So these are very important. So how do you manage resistance to new data governance process? Mind you, you have answered the question before here.
Yeah, I was going to say we've kind of answered the question before, but apart from that, you could also create incentives, offer things like work from home, remote working, do 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. Everybody loves that.
Nicholas said that to us.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. Yeah, just like show them the benefit and how everything is easier by doing it in this new structure. Give people incentives for working in a different manner.
That you can do if you have some of your team member, but if it is not your team member, if it's not data governance team member, but is the data owner across every functional department, you can't give them incentive of working from home, can you?
No, you can't.
Okay,
No.
you can't tell the chief accountant to work from home because he buy into your program.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can tell
well,
the chief accountant. Yes, I can.
Obviously,
I'll tell
you are not the chief executive of the company. So we have different departments. We have mechanical department, we have accounting department, we have human resources department. So you make them to buy into your program as data governance manager or the head of data. Okay? So you can only have authority over the people you are managing in terms of like stewards, data analysts. Then we have a visualization officer, we have a data engineer who works with you in your team. Okay, so you can give them. Of course, they won't even have any problem with you because they won't even resist because you're working as a team. But you can control people who are like head of department or accounting department. Oh, you know what? For you to buy into the data governance program, work from home, you don't have that authority because they are head of their department. So this is very important.
Right.
Yeah. So what you just need to do is keep on training them, let them have insight into reality of the value you are creating with your team. And there are good answer that you can see on the chat box. Please take advantage of them. Communicate and highlight the benefits of your program to everyone, every person that is concerned, especially all stakeholders on the team. So, and the more they have the value, the benefit of the value you have created, the better it is for them to buy into your program. Very important. I don't know if I'm communicating.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah, at least.
I'm just writing stuff down at the same time.
Sorry.
So, like I'm trying to write it all down as well because this is really important.
Very, very important. Thank you so much. What training methods are effective for data governance? What training methods are very, very effective in data governance? So the previous answers you've given, you can do by giving I do training program and communicating, highlighting the benefits for individual teams so that they should understand that by using which effective means will you use, make sure when you are bringing an initiative in an interview, you should be able to let somebody know. If you meet a brownfield that is not well developed, you want to have a robust program in place to accommodate the complexity of the data, the enterprise handling, and you've met resistance. Based on that, you did this, do that, you work in conjunction with the team or across the functional department, drawn team from there, and then you were able to carry out your initiative, have assessment, and come out with standard and criteria to which you can ensure your initiative are setting standards and you progress. So now doing that, effective training for data governance include online courses, workshop, modules, e-learning, podcasts, videos. Yeah, those are the tailored to the audience level. Those are the answers you need to always give. It's very, very imperative that you know how you carry out your training, what method you use that are so effective, tailored to the needs of the companies, and notwithstanding the audience that you will be targeting as well. So, like people are easy to get things in lettering, but some other people, they like graphics to represent what you intend to do. Some people like reading, and some people like other means. So everyone has different means, but you need to put things together, online courses, hands-on practice, in a continuous learning program, self training as well at their pace, at self pace as well. So, and Ashibel from Asura say updated training in technological data governance tools as well, because some tools need updating in order to ensure that they meet up with involving technology. Okay, so the answer is so simple there. All right.
Hands-on.
Yeah. Even the answer given before, or step by Barrister Manuel give answer. Ashbrook from United States of Africa gave some answer, and even Orekos, if he also gives some answer. Very important.
You can also do role-based training where people are actually
Absolutely, that is practical.
Oh, yeah, these
practical,
are,
yes.
Mm.
Mm.
These are all good answers. Role-based debt, role-based training as well.
Yeah, the when Barcelona put it is also good that we take into account diversity and equality out of 2010. You're talking about inclusivity as well. Very, very important. I'm a head of data in a big organization, and there was issue that relates to disability, and there was a visit from external and discovered that. So he wrote a report, and in my meeting with my board, I was able to. He wasn't so explicit, but I had to write an email to them. Now that you have identified that, to what could you what effort will you make to ensure this and that? We need your support based on this. He now said, "Oh, Sylvester, thank you to hear from you as well. We're going to be doing that, engaging these stakeholders, and we will get back to you." That's okay. Thank you. So very important. And inclusivity is very important, even when you're looking at the equality at diversity and equality at any of us here, we must be acquainted with is it 10 characteristics? A bit 8 characteristics of the Equality Act 2010. So you must be acquainted with it when you are working. So 9 characteristics, thank you. So it's very, very important. And we are not united here in Africa. Okay. That's AG, Anthony Joshua. Okay, no problem, Ashibal. So inclusiveness of staff with different disabilities, and you're able to, that whatever you have, you need to tailor it to their way of understanding it, because not everybody could understand the same pace. So very important. Thank you so much for answering that. So yeah, this is one of the questions are also within the how do you ensure governance policies remain flexible over time? How do you ensure that? How do you ensure that?
I do not know the answer to that question. That's a new one for me.
So what is the opposite? Because the answer to questions are normally found in the question. What is the opposite of flexibility? Flexibility.
Rigidity.
Okay. So why do you think you don't want to make anything rigid?
Because it cracks under pressure. That's the best way to put it. So it's easier to crack under pressure, and especially over time. It becomes more and more vulnerable to pressure and change.
You are very clever, you know.
I tried a bit. Thank you.
So you don't need that crack.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened then? Why do you think there will be crack?
You need so
If
you
the
need
policies are too rigid, why do you think there will be crack?
there'll be cracks in the processes, even in the processes themselves, because like it's too rigid. So there's no flexibility within. There's no way you can really move forward. I don't know how to answer that, but I know the answer.
You can phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Phone a friend. Someone help me out. Someone help me out.
So the answer you gave, if you could expatiate on
That's
it,
why I need to
it would be
expand on what I'm
better.
saying.
So phone a friend. Anyway,
Mm.
Engineer Lewis, I had wanted to call you because the reason why there must be the reason why there must be flexibility in in whatever you put forward in terms of design, come from the aspect of design. Engineer Lewis, if you can talk. If you can't talk, no problem. So I can later.
Hello, Pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, I initially wanted to say like I had a similar I had an experience like this last week,
Okay.
and I had to sit down with my manager in
Okay.
regards to a policy. Now
Okay.
on the policy it was quite strict,
Yeah.
but which I handled the situation the way it ought to be. And then and this was an issue with BMW anyway. Then there was an issue where they couldn't exceed a certain mileage, which the person was a BMW staff, and they insisted that it had to be where they wanted it to go. And on the policy it clearly stated we couldn't exceed that mileage. Now, I now said to the customer, thank God, what saved me was that the conversation was even recorded, because there's a software that records any telephone conversation. And I told the customer that, okay, I can't guarantee this because I knew the policy was quite strict on that one. But in my own experience on the job, there are cases where people exceed that mileage, maybe about let's say it's 10, you can exceed it to if it's up to 15, but not more than that. So mine was even 4. But somebody from middle office called in that, why did I exceed this? And the manager now called me. And the manager said, okay, to be honest, this was a private chat. Between the both of us, they didn't say anything wrong in what I did. But next time I should just say this. But I said, excuse me, but you know this thing we do, we're flexible on it. If you want me to be strict on it, how do you think this customer will feel? It will tell him, no. And I told him I can't guarantee it, but I put it across. And now they are now saying that, why did I even do it? At the end of the day, the manager said, okay, I should just carry on, that she understands what's going on. And that had to do with the policy. And if I was that strict, it would have caused a problem.
Yeah, okay.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, that highlighted a lot. Good.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Barrister can't talk because I love all these things he put there, and that is premise. In fact, that is actually his side. So, very, very important. He puts good things there. Take advantage of that. Okay. Nicholas, you talk about crack. It's very important. Yeah, there's in engineering.
Single point failures. You don't want a single point failure, do you?
Yeah, Barrister Han, good to hear from you, Barrister, if you can.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Sorry, I've been feeling very strong.
Sir, Happy New Year, sir.
Sorry, I've got very bad neck pain. Like I've written, in any organization, any constitution or policy, there's always a leeway or a window. I think the example Engineer Lewis gave and others, those are very good examples. In law, we always say the law is an act. That's why when you go to court, we always say no two cases are the same. And the law is not actually cast in stones. By that, we mean that you can actually go to court and argue a case. I remember those days when I used to be very, very active. The judges will say, oh, when you are acting for the plaintiff, you come and you win the case. When you're asking for the defendant, you win. How do you do it? I said, well, I said I do my cases on my knees. He just laughed, by that, I mean I do a lot of research and ensure that I get the law, policies, legal framework that will support my argument. Thank you.
Precedences and jurisprudences.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
So because in a case where there's no leeway or a leverage for, or a window for cases where you can't foresee, we are human beings, you know, so that's why we spoke about what happened in California the other day when we said that the fire incidents, you know, so there's always room for, I think that's Lewis Field in terms of the insurance for those people who had the fire incidents. Thank you.
Thank you,
We
sir.
can't foresee everything. We cannot foresee everything. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we do, we must be very, very careful because we never
Yes.
okay. I'm coming from the engineering side of it. If you want to design a bridge, yeah, you don't make it to be too rigid. So you put tolerance, clearance as well, so that will account for expansion and contraction. So if you make it too rigid, when it's trying to expand, it could break. So a bridge must be moving. If it's not moving, there's going to be a problem. So it's so also every other thing you do. Samara just explained was your ability to and in this context is that the question is, how do you ensure governance policy remain flexible over time? Simply because you expect periodic reviewing and updating them. Periodic reviewing and updating them based on business and regulatory changes. Okay? Because it's a best practice. Part of best practice, you have to be updating. So if you see that this is how it must go, then you're not subject to review. Even in any policy, you have to put a clause that this is subject to review.
Right.
Yeah, in any policy. There was a time I had issues with a company who one of the person who doesn't know much about me came and he said I should sack one person. And person we want to hear from you again. So
I thought you were going to finish first, or you want me to speak? Okay, if you want me to speak. I think a very good example is, like you did mention, probably when you just said review, some people might not actually see it in a very simplistic way.
Thank you so much, sir. I was about to say the same thing. Please, I would like a similar. How do you determine a policy is due for review, please? Would it be through the metrics of when this problem keeps coming up on the metrics, or how do you know?
It's also set within the same policy.
Sorry, I haven't finished actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that, thank you, and Lois. Yeah, I was going to say that when you do an assessment, there's always a review. That's why I think in terms of the roadmap, we have the 30, 90, 60, 90 days, you know, and at the end of the day, if there is no review, this is one of the problems we have in some countries. I mean, you know, the country I'm talking about, you know, they just put something there and there's nothing. We always say that as soon as you graduate from school, in fact, the first year, after the first year, you become rustic.
Okay.
So in a country or in an organization where they don't have CPD, continuous professional development, they don't have what do you call it, courses that you go for to refresh what you've done before. In medicine, in law, virtually all courses, there should always be room.
Is it an FCA standard? in all data gov that all is there is there a lifespan for a policy, a
Yeah,
standard life?
that's what I'm trying to come out with because
Please, Pastor, carry on.
let Barrister is speaking. He hasn't finished yet.
Okay. I was going to say that the NHS and the social services, and even in diagnostic too, as Pastor will tell us, in the engineering and Lois, there is always room for. So any legislation or any legal framework should have provisions for things like that, where you could actually review, and there should be set period, set time. I know for NHS and social services, they will say sometimes it depends on, like children and family. I think some of them you have to review some reviews has to be 30 days.
Every
Some
30
reviews
days.
3 months, some reviews 6 months, and some reviews are annually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Pastor, quick one, yeah. Like when you get in the roadmap and all the policies are handed over to you, is there a separate timesheet that are being attached to every policy in terms of their reviewing date? For instance, you're in a company this year, and within the first 90 days, which is the next 3 months, you now notice that there's actually maybe 4 or 5 policies that should have been reviewed even before you got the job, but was not done. Do you flag that up, and do you make the executive decisions for that to be reviewed, or is it a venture within other data governance analysts together to get that done?
Thank you so much. If your hand is up, I'm going to answer that question, plus the former question.
Yes, I was going to talk about how do you know a policy is due for review. Like we see nowadays that technology keeps on evolving. So a policy that was done, say some 5-6 years ago, might probably not be okay for the technological advancement of today. So we keep talking about automatic systems like Power BI. As of 10 years ago, there was Excel, but there was Power BI, but it was not as common as it is now. So, and then they're finding that there are better tools for data updates and than Excel. So this is why people now are switching to Power BI. Then in a lot of companies, I think I've used this example before. Before, when you are a new joiner to a company, the induction, they will tell you to go to place, get your pass, do this, do that. Everything was manually done. But now, all they do is just send you an email. I can't remember what it's called now, where you do all the updates on there. And then once you get to the reception or whatever, you just get your pass. So the induction is done online. It's called onboarding. Yeah. It's called onboarding. I just remember it's called onboarding now. So that's what a lot of organizations have adapted recently. So I think policies change depending on the business needs, depending on technology, and depending on regulations. So if an organization before was worth probably £1 million or something, and then suddenly they find that they have got this investment which has suddenly brought in £10 million, of course, they can afford to change all the equipment, afford to change their laptops and all that. And then they change the policies to say, right, our laptops are all outdated. Before, when people sign in, they just sign in with their name and it's okay. But now we have to sign in, use some sort of encryption method and all that. So that policy automatically, they will change it. So it doesn't matter whether the policy it was meant to be for 10 years or 5 years or 20 years. As long as things keep changing, they just keep adapting to whatever change is going on.
Thank you so much. So is that legacy hand? Because I also want to contribute to that. Louis?
Oh, yes, sir. I could relate to what Madam is talking about. Of recently from BMW, there was the new software they launched this January, And when in my department were over in the UK and Ireland were over
sometime
150 to how many staff?
Yeah.
And could you believe, Pastor, as soon as that software came out, people avoided using that software. Do you know what BMW did? They noticed and they complained because they were not getting accurate data. That software could guarantee accurate data. Now, what they did, they noticed staffs were still using the old method, which wasn't really accurate. Then guess what they did just 2 weeks ago? BMW now offer that each time we use that software and we get the data correctly, which guarantees it to them, they could see the transparency in how we operate and whatever. Each staff, every time you use that software, which minimizes your workload, something that will take you almost 10, 15 minutes to get done, you get it done under 5 minutes using that software. You're paid extra £5. Now, everybody, the incentive encourage everybody. As of last 2 weeks, people were always call, oh, Louis, please, can you handle this? Louis, can, but now they don't call anymore. They've now started learning it.
Okay.
So that I've noticed that is just the new thing that's just going on now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thank you for those who contributed to the question. One of the things we must understand as a data governance, policy is a key. In fact, if you don't have anything to do, they will first to know that you know what is called policy and how to draft policy or update policy. So policies are a set of guidelines that you need to put together in order to manage activities or processes. Okay, those policies must be set to operate in best practice. So that best practice is seen in the policy. So if a policy is rigid, it's not a best practice. Nicholas, because Nicholas said it will crack.
Yeah.
So any policy that is rigid is not in best practice. Best practice is the most superior practice that has been tested and has produced the most superior result compared to all alternatives, including updating. So you cannot update if you are rigid. So you can only update something that is flexible. Please take note of that. So if a barrister and every other contributed to is talking about you see the evolving situation we have in the world, even especially in digital world, data is the driver of this evolving. So if you have a policy that is not robust enough to move with trend and evolution, then that is rigid. It will crack, according to Nicholas. I won't forget that, Nicholas. Philosophy. It will crack. So you must have a policy that is flexible in order to, so that you will not crack your teeth. So it must be scalable. If in case you are doing migration of data, so you should be able to, design the policy, not or modify it or develop it robust enough to meet the complexity of data you are handling, and also to create the value expected by the enterprise. This is why we must always take note. Why is it that when you look at a job advertisement or data governance, they will say to create, or first of all, if they don't put the word create, they will say to develop policy. What does that mean? If you make it static, if you make it rigid, you can't develop. But in any policy, as Barrister also said before, any policy has enshrined in the same policy as best practice when such policy should be updated. And if the time frame put in that the same policy for updating changes, they're also going to ensure in case of emergency, we can draw the updating time backward. I mean, we can change the updating time. in order to meet the evolving situation. You also need to be ensured in that. So most policies are updated based on trends and based on situation, based on so many complaints or situations that just occur that our policy do not cover. So on that basis, management decision can decide to say, okay, let's use this clause. Don't only use that clause of 10 years. Let's use this clause in case of emergency to change it to suit this as it is. I was bringing an example of, somebody told me I should sack somebody. And I told him, why do you want me to sack the person? Say he's not pulling his weight. It sucks. Then I say, it is up to me to give a report based on that. I'm not sacking him. So he said, if I don't sack him, he will sack me. He himself never knew I was even his own boss.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't know because
Wow.
I appear like a fool. Because I found myself in the field with them. He never knew that I was the person actually designed what we are doing.
That's serious.
So, and I told those boys, everybody go home. And I will write a report that you'll be paid. Give me your this, and I will sign it that your payment will be done. They were at home for 2 weeks. They were receiving salary. And by the time the guy knew that I was his boss, he already be sacked within the 2 weeks.
Wow.
So this is how it is in this. You see, there must be policy put in place. So the policy must be, subjected to change. Don't forget, it's a key work as a data governor. Policy, it's a key word. Yeah. And if you find it difficult to talk about policy, then
Pastor.
Yeah, Barrister, your hand is up.
Oh, sorry. Did someone raise up your hand?
Okay, thank you. Yes, principal lecturer. Yes, you're right. That's a very good one. I actually touched something in the chat section for when an incident happened in NHS or the social services. They try and look for the relevant course or training that might benefit you, so that things like that won't happen again. And in terms of the changes, like we said, that it doesn't have to be static. Some training are actually every 3 years. Some are every 2 years. Some, I know Prevent is every 3 years. Safeguarding, obviously, safeguarding, you have to do more of that. But because something has happened, they don't have to wait for the time, for you to do it. They will just look for the course that you have to do. Like you said, you have to send this guy home and talk to them, courses that they think that will benefit you and that you won't do such a thing again, and also other people to learn from. That's why we have what we call, in children's services, there's what they call learning from, there's a word they use. When I remember, I'll bring it up. Things that have happened in the past, or let's say where, like the tower that got burnt, they had to do intensive research on how to stop things like that. And like we've also said before, I think I've done some things before that the government had to adapt. So these are some of the things that I think, and like Pastor said, a policy that is not flexible, it's not a policy, it's not a good policy.
It would be like Nicholas cracking. if your hand is up, Louis, you are.
Yes, I was about to say, we talked about this. Madam, carry on first.
Okay, I was like, in addition to what Barrister was saying, yesterday I had issues. I don't know about other people. I have accounts with Barclays Bank, and yesterday the service was just totally went down. People couldn't withdraw money. It doesn't reflect, the bank account was not reflecting if money had been paid in or if money had been taken out. That's how bad it was. And it's still ongoing even till now. So but they brought out something so every time you go in, they brought something out on the system to say, apologies, you can't check what your balance is. You can't make payments from the app. You can't pay, even if someone pays you and it doesn't show. So I was wondering, I said, God, I wonder how people who have to pay their mortgage from their accounts, people who have to do their self-assessment taxes, because, yesterday was the deadline. And all these things need money. There are some people whose banks are waiting, whose landlords are waiting for them to pay their rents yesterday. And then suddenly you are stuck. So if there was no policy in place when a situation like this happens, I'm sure yesterday, whoever the data people were working overtime to bring us some sort of policy or guideline to say when something like this happen, we don't have to pay compensation or we have to pay compensation, those kind of things. So that's why I said that policies can be flexible. So events like this make them to rethink or redress whatever policies they have, because if not, Barclays will get shot in the foot. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay. Madam, my own contribution into this is that I believe through master data, which manages data governance as a whole. I believe there is, not I believe there is, because I've actually witnessed this. There are situations whereby you need softwares and other things to carry out data, and there's always a second option, not necessarily in case these things fail. Staffs are being trained how to manually go in and still get the job done. Though it takes time, it slows down time, it slows down communication. We've had similar issues. There's a software we call Apex, which allows us to pass on other communication between other third-party companies. Now, this software shut down for about 2 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago. It just got back just last week. And we had immediately the other data managers, they went into overdrive, sending random emails, sending constantly, please do not panic. Yes, our IT staffs are on trying to sort this out because it was a global issue. We had to manually now had to start calling. We had to take in a logbook to start speaking to them. They on their own hand didn't have the problem. It was from our end. So there were some communications that were being passed around, and the other companies were not seeing it. So this was it was just how it works. So in my own view, when I noticed this was my first experience this January, and I said, oh, so obviously there's a backup plan for when things don't work out well. But it tells on the staff, because it's a teamwork, that this is how it works. So this was my first experience. So moving forward, my manager, in terms of what Pastor said, we did have this conversation, I think during November or so, which I give an example that if a case file came to me and I corrected the file, and they said they noticed when I logged in, they noticed my ID that I corrected. But now this one, the manager called me and said they've noticed I've been correcting files, and I'm spending longer time trying to sort things out. What are the other pressing issues they need me to be attending to? And I said, but if this data is not accurate, how do you feel it will make us look? And they said, and do you know what I said? He said, why are you not reporting this? And I said to them, just like how that guy came to meet Pastor saying, sack this person, recommending somebody for sack. I didn't do. I said, no, I don't want to put anybody into trouble. And they said, then she said to me, because she was Scottish, she said, Lewis, if you don't report them, they will keep doing this and they don't even know. So you have to report. I said, but this could get someone sacked. I said, well, it's quite tough. And I felt bad. But Pastor, I did not oblige to what she said, though. What I do on our intercom communication, I would call, speak to the person, chat them up that this case file, so number, you did this, you created it, this is what you did, brother. Please don't do that. Look at, and that's why I just let it go. And I'll correct it again. So I don't know. What do you think? I was doing something wrong? I should have obeyed and just report them.
If you identify with the value and try to make sure the image, or rather the integrity of your company, is improved and ensured by saying that we pride ourselves of delivering a high quality service, then you see something that is wrong and you cannot make sure it's corrected, you are as guilty as the architect of the problem. To be quite
Really?
Yeah, because if you are working as a team, somebody's failure may affect all of you. So there are ways of dealing with it. You have to use wisdom and you also follow policy. Okay? They're very important.
So I should have reported.
No communication policy.
Yeah, I did that now. I did it.
Communication policy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much for today. I'll be so busy. I also did a very big lecture in today, so I come in here.
Yeah, this was a lot of information that was vital and critical today. Like I want a copy of today's recording, to be honest, because I can't write it all down at once.
You have
It's
access
not possible.
to the recording. You have access to the recording.
Yeah, I've got access. I'll get it because this one had a lot in it. Thanks for everybody's contribution because it really helped.
Thank you so much. If you enjoyed today, I want you to put, on the chat box, yes or no, good, whatever. It's very important.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you for coming. I hope we all enjoy something today.
Pastor,
Absolutely.
quick one. Why resources is part of what has made a policy not to be reviewed? What do you do?
Then you recommend for review.
No, you recommend that you've noticed. Okay, you came into a what's it called again? Sorry, you come into a brownfield, and you notice there were some policies that were not reviewed, and they're overdue for it, but due to resources.
It is your duty. It is your duty to automatically develop policies. So if you know whether that policy is overdue to be reviewed or is not even due to be reviewed, it is your duty to make sure that policy develop quickly and let it be taken into consideration that is reviewed automatically and it will be signed off.
Okay, got it.
Because a brownfield and they have a problem, including the problem. You see, the policy does not meet with the business need and vision. So you just develop straight based on that. Whether it's 10 years time to review, no, instantly you review it and you change it. That accommodate the complexity of data you have right as at that time and create the value. So then you are the one who's going to determine when it should be reviewed.
Got it.
And when you are putting it, make sure you create a case why it should be reviewed total because of
and then defend the advantages, what the benefit of it. Got it. I now see where you're coming from.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay. All right, Latonia.
All right, no worries.
Latonia, you have your note with you, and because
yes, so
somebody say make sure your note is ready. I heard that.
of course I have my notes with you.
Okay, Happy New Year, Latonia.
Happy New Year, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone that's come.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, have a wonderful time. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Bye, everyone.
This time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
This time next Saturday, please.
Sorry?
I said this time next Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. Latonia, are you driving or?
No, I just stepped out of the house now.